All right, in this lesson, we're going to look at basic harmonics. So this is that cool whistle noise that you hear stringed instruments make. There's varying types of them. And in this lesson, we're just going to cover kind of the basic concept, how mechanically to get one to happen. And we'll be using an excerpt from one of the songs that we teach on the website called Whistler's Waltz to just use as a practice because there's some really neat things happening there. So from a technique standpoint, harmonics are what happens when you subdivide the string down and you cause it to vibrate in different ways. Mathematically, it all works out to where the string, when you subdivide it, placing your fingers where you normally would push down all the way, it actually will subdivide the string up and it'll vibrate at a higher frequency. And it produces a very clear tone when you do that. So for instance, okay, so those are all harmonics. I did a slide harmonic to start off, and we'll cover that in another technique video because it's a little more complex as to what's going on there. But harmonics are really not that tough once you get the idea down. Basically, what you're doing is we're going to subdivide the string in half to start out. So we're going to go all the way up into third position. And again, another technique video on how to get to third position if you're not sure. But in short, the heel of your hand should strike the rib of the instrument right here, or the shoulder of the instrument. And that's in third position. And then you're going to stretch up just a little bit further with your fourth finger and place it just barely touching the string. So this would be, if we placed the finger down, this would be an octave of A. But what you're going to do is lightly touch the string with your fourth finger and draw the bow across slightly faster than you normally would. Okay? And I wasn't quite on it, and so you hear there's some whistling things that happen if you're not exactly where you need to be. But if you're right where you need to be, it'll produce a clear kind of a bell tone. Okay? So try that. Try barely touching down and draw up or down, it doesn't matter. And then when you get to the end of it, one thing to do to create that ringing tone is to release the finger as soon as your bow stops touching the string. If not, it kind of dies. Okay, so when you get to the end of your bow stroke, release your finger. Okay, so that's a basic harmonic. So let's try one down here in first position. Your fourth finger, if you were to just, instead of playing like an E note, fourth finger on the A string, if you just release and barely touch the string, okay, you'll get a 5 note out of the A chord, so that'll be an E note. Okay, when you go up to the third finger, you get an octave, so this should be an A note. Okay, it's an A 2 octaves up. Okay, and again, same technique, I'm barely touching the string. One thing to keep in mind is the further down on the string that you go towards the nut of the string, or the nut of the instrument, the intervals become closer and closer, and therefore it becomes more and more difficult to get the right one in place. They continue on up through there. They're just kind of like wind chimes at that point. But the whole concept is to intentionally lightly place your finger on the string in those specific spots and then let off as you draw the bow across the string. Okay, so let's put this into practice and give you a tune that you can play this with. Now, you don't have to learn the whole tune, but it is available on the website. It's called Whistler's Waltz. Like I said, it's a great example of where to use harmonics in your playing. The third part does a whole bunch of them. That's why it's called Whistler's Waltz. So let me play a little bit of that for you. There's two main versions, two sort of runs or riffs that we'll cover, and then we'll break them down one by one. Here we go. Here's the first one. Okay, and the second one, I'll just keep going. Okay, so we get into this open D to open A. or a run if you want, 2, 3, open A. Okay, but really you don't need that because we're just trying to work on these harmonics. So open 2A, and I'm doing up bow slur there. Now you're ready to come down bow, third finger, okay, on your A string, harmonic. Rock over and catch a fourth finger on your D to a third finger on your D. So try that. Okay. One thing I've noticed is it helps when you're playing these harmonics that are close to each other to change your bow direction. That stops the string from vibrating at the previous note and helps to start the vibration on the next note. So different bow directions help here. Okay, I just repeated that. So it's 3, 4, 3 on the D. So 3 on the A, 4, 3 on the D, 4, and come back, and then you go back up to the third finger on the A and repeat it. Okay, and then you're out to an open D note. We'll not worry about the notes in between these two sections. Really, this is just to give you something to work on. So practice that with me. I'll count it in. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Okay, so once you've got that, let's go on to the second one. It starts off with a third finger, C sharp, high third on the G string. Okay, so it starts 3 and 1 on the A or D string. Okay, those are your pickup notes, and then you're going to lay the fourth finger down and go all the way across. We'll do D, A, E, back to A. It sounds like this. Okay, and you end actually on a third finger on the A. One more time. Okay. So those are the two phrases that I would recommend practicing these things on. Of course, just shifting up and catching those up here in 3rd/4th position. Okay, that's a good exercise that you can do. Okay, so that's a basic harmonic. Stay tuned for the advanced slide harmonic, and then we'll also cover some bow harmonics.